Good morning, everybody. I am so pleased to be here. When Sue invited me and she told me what today was all about, I thought, great, this is one place I'd really like to be, and it's so beautiful as well, I think as Jill said. So thank you, Sue, for inviting me today. And if any of you want to involve people with dementia in your work, do speak to Sue, because how she organised today for me was exemplary. She's put me so at ease. The information she gave me was just what I needed. She's enabled me to be here and to feel comfortable. I'm not stressed yet. So thank you for that. I thought I would tell you a bit about how I feel as a result of having dementia, the impact it's having on my and my husband Peter's lives. He was here. He's done a runner. Some of the difficulties I have, the importance of community, and possibly some things that you could do to help us. The only thing I'm an expert in is me. And a lot of the difficulties and problems I have are experienced by my friends as well. But you've probably heard the same. When you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. It manifests itself very differently in different people. Could I just ask, how many of you have a Dementia Friends badge? I've done Dementia Friends. Okay, well that's great. I'm speaking to a lot of the converted because you're here to hear a bit more. And those who haven't yet done the Dementia Friend, become a Dementia Friend, I would encourage you to go and find out more about it. I think it's a great initiative. So, some of my difficulties. One other thing, I am not going to practice. If I was preaching to you today, I'm not actually going to practice what I would preach, because I would be telling you, when you put a slide up for people with dementia, don't make it busy, keep it simple and easy to read. You're going to see some of my slides here are like packed full of stuff. I am not going to talk to everything on those slides, but I've put it there just to give you a bit more information. And as I think Jill said, if there's anything you want to ask me about afterwards, that's fine. So here, I think one of the things that really struck me quite early on is my decline in short-term memory. And a few years ago, I was still working. I was driving home from work, past an enormous barn fire. It was huge, and it was so big that they had all the emergency services there, and they were getting animals out of the barn, and there were animals all over the road, and it was pretty chaotic. I got home 10, 15 minutes later, and Peter said to me, "Have you had a good day? Anything happened?" And I go, "Yeah, it was fine." Totally forgotten about that barn fire. Then it was so big it made the local TV news that evening, and of course when it came up, I said, "Oh, I drove past that, and it was this, this, and this." So things go into my brain, they just don't come back out. Once they're in there, they're getting lost in there. And the other one from this slide is just to show the change in my cognitive abilities. I used to be a member of Mensa. Doesn't mean you're clever, it just means your brain works in a particular way. And my brain worked, so if you threw 2 4-digit numbers at me, I could give you the answer back like that. Today, I cannot multiply a 2-digit by a single digit in my head, because it won't hold on to the carry forward number for as long as I need it. So that's sort of how my brain function has changed over the years since I got diagnosed. Because of that, because of my short-term memory being so rubbish, and I don't remember things, after I got diagnosed, I started isolating myself because I hadn't got anything to talk about, because I couldn't remember anything to talk about. And fortunately for me, Peter is such a party animal. We always had people around the house and doing things that I just thought, this isn't fair, make an effort. So we've become much more socially engaged again. And it's good for me because it forces me to try and use my brain. And I now have standard things I talk about. Or if I'm out for a walk and somebody's got a dog, I'll say, "Oh, that dog's a nice colour." Whether it's black or white or whatever, it's just a sentence I use to get a conversation going. My emotions, particularly in the last year, have become really, really difficult to control. And I don't understand it. I have always hated cruelty. I've always hated to animals or children. And I can't figure out how I used to manage that. And today, I try and avoid putting myself in a situation where there's anything that's going to upset me, because it's really hard to control it. And I think it's part of it is because you feel like you're losing the ability to do anything about it, that it's taking control of you. I'm sorry, I have got my phone on the timer, and it's just, somebody wants to talk to me. Oh, crikey. Go away. I'll let it buzz itself out. Right, sorry about that. I shouldn't have even looked at it because it throws me out. Anyway, never mind. The one thing about my memory, which is really, really frustrating, is there's lots of good things going on in my life, and I can't remember any of them. But when I do something stupid and I have a cringe moment, oh, that stays with me forever. So there's something to do with around cringe and, you know, you've made a right fool of yourself that actually helps my memory. So maybe I should make a fool of myself a little bit more often. I think I've also become very anxious now, and I try and over-plan and over-control my life. When we go away, I try to think of every scenario that could possibly happen and try and put in place a contingency plan. And I'm trying to realise that that is not a good thing to do, because you can't plan for everything. And for the first time last year, there was a problem with my hotel booking, and I just retreated to safety. I came back home that night and missed a meeting the next day as a result of it. I wasn't proud of it, but that's what happened. Anyway, there are lots of good things about having a diagnosis of dementia. I've got a new outlook, I've got new purpose, I've made so many new friends, particularly those with dementia and the dementia community. But my best thing is, when we got married, well, I shouldn't say that, this isn't a putting green. When we got married, Peter knew I loved dogs, and he said, "You're not having a dog because you'll love the dog more than you love me." Which is sort of true, but it's a different kind of love, isn't it? So anyway, lo and behold, when he heard dementia, that dogs are good for people with dementia, we got our little dog Tilly. So I got Tilly, and she was an absolute star. And I think it's very important. People with dementia can really relate to animals, because you communicate to animals very differently to how you communicate with people. You don't have to think about what you're going to say to it. You can just stroke it, and, you know, that sort of communication is great. This is her. She learnt that day that stagnant ponds with leaves on, a frog hopping into a stagnant pond, a leaf in a stagnant pond, will float on it. A dog following it into the pond won't. So I just put that in. So what would I like? Not to be disabled. One of the things you can do is you can kill with kindness. You can disable with kindness. And I am in the early stages still, so it does change over time. But Peter was really great in trying to do everything for me in the early days. And then we came to realise that the more he does for me, the less my brain has to work. So the more you get your brain working, the slower your decline will be. So, and I say, challenge me, but do it gently, be nice to me, and allow me to at least try. One thing I'd like to flag is I did a course recently on Future Learn called Creating Moments of Joy, and it was about creating moments of joy for people with dementia. And I learned so much from it, and I thought it was an excellent course. What it was really trying to say is, you've got to go into the person with dementia's world. You've got to find out what time of life they are actually living in today and engage with them there. The other thing with dementia, because of this short-term memory thing, I can't follow plots and storylines, but I can still enjoy documentaries. Won't remember much of it after, but in the moment, I enjoy it. So if you are speaking with someone with dementia, you either need to find out where they are at the moment in their brain, in their life history, or talk to them about something they can see now, that you can both see and discuss, because they're still able to do it. And even in the later stages, you can have very good conversation. Well, I shouldn't say conversations, but you can have very good engagement with people with dementia. I've got a whole load of other things. I have done something here. No, I haven't. You see, this is me. I get all muddled all over the place, and I've got so many bits of paper, and I don't turn the page when I should, that I forget what I mean to say and mean to do. Right. I'm going back to the, oh, shut up. Sorry. What can you do? Right. The later stages of dementia, I've been to a dementia village where the people lived in the later stages and they were getting up every day, they were doing things, they were cooking, they were cleaning. Might not have been doing it to the standards we would like, but they were living their lives still. And because of that, it showed me that with the appropriate help, you can still have a decent life when you have dementia. If you want to support people with dementia, the Alzheimer's Society have a great initiative called Side by Side, whereby this is a one-to-one basis, something you enjoy doing. There'll be somebody with dementia who also enjoys doing it. And you go out, you help them do it. So it might be going to a museum, it might be going to the cinema, but it just helps get them out of the house. Because the one thing that happens, and the one thing that really upsets me, I have so many brave friends with dementia, but they become more and more isolated at home, alone, and they can't get out. And for the want of just a simple friendship that can help them get out, it makes all the difference. When I walk out the door, I'm moving into another community, the neighbourhood community. When I go downtown, I'm then in a shopping environment. When I go to hospital, there's the hospital community, the GP community. Every organisation's door I walk through is another community. People with dementia can have good experiences in a lot of those communities, but one of them gets it wrong, it can put that person off going out again for the rest of the, for a long time. It's very frightening. And I've just got a few quotes here. I realise I'm starting to ramble a bit and go over time. One of my friends with dementia had to go out for a hospital. Sorry, I've got a couple. I've got a friend with dementia and her husband. He had to go out one day and he tried to get someone to come to the house to help look after her, and he couldn't. And he's been really struggling with looking after her because it's becoming very difficult. So he's ashamed to say it, but he locked her in the bathroom. He was only going out for an hour. And then when he was telling me, he came to confide in me in what he'd done, and he just broke down. He said it was awful. He said she was there, I could hear her crying in the bathroom because she was obviously frightened and worried. He said, I broke down because of what I'd done to her. I had got nowhere I could turn. I couldn't find anybody to help me. I had to go to this appointment. And it was just devastating. And seeing the state of that man that day was awful. I've got some quotes here as well from people with dementia. Now, these are actually very, very simple quotes, but these had an impact on these people's lives. And if something as simple as this can have an impact, some of the other problems, when you start magnifying those up, you realise what impact that will have on people's lives. So there's a lady here, she said she was in a bank. She says they have always got people to help you if you can't work out the machines, and they'll put a reminder card in front of your book. Actually, she must be in the library for you if you ask, and that means I still go. Another guy, I go swimming every Tuesday. I find it relaxing and meet some friends there. 2 years ago, I had to stop driving. It was difficult as the swimming pool is 5 miles from home. I've started taking the bus, the 6A. It leaves me at the door. Drivers are really kind. They always smile and tell me where to get off because I don't remember. So lovely, simple things. Another one, I'm a good reader. I really enjoy reading my books. I used to go to the library every week. Now I've stopped using the library because they've introduced self-checkout. And I'm worried what will happen if I get it wrong or if I can't keep track of when my books are meant to be returned. They don't stamp it at the front like they used to. I need someone to help with that. Something as simple as that, becoming more efficient, more IT. But the impact it has on people with disabilities or dementia, it's not considered when they implement new systems. I asked a member of staff at the bus station to write down the time of my bus for me, and he refused, pointing at a timetable, which of course I didn't understand. Who does? I stay in now. So again, people just don't understand the problems we have. And the last one, very good friend, went to Tesco's. Actually, this was 2 weeks ago. He went to Tesco's middle of the night to do his shopping. And he went to the self-service checkout, puts it all through, great. Moves to the next self-service checkout, puts all the shopping through again, pays again. He's thinking, great, I've done it. He goes to the third one, and then luckily somebody spotted him and said, I think you've paid for this twice already, sir. So he did get his money back. But, you know, something like that, you just can't sort of comprehend what's obvious to many people. It's very difficult for people with dementia. So finally, I'm just going to finish with this, because I do have a good life, and I'm sorry. You gave me that warning, and I've ignored it. My 5-minute warning. I've loved horses, always loved horses. And Peter, I don't know if this was, I'm not sure what the message is. I'll let you decide. So he bought me this lovely T-shirt with horses on, okay? Don't know if you can read it at the back. But the nag, nag, nag. So I said, well, thank you very much. What's the message? And he said, well, the day you stop nagging me will be the day I start worrying about you. So as long as I keep nagging, all is well.